Hi, welcome to this week's episode of the Mojo Moment, brought to you by Marketing Mojo, marketects who build for brands at the intersection of purpose and profit, where good business lives. I'm Lisa Bowman, the Chief Mojo Officer of Marketing Mojo. And as you can see, I have a whole host of guests today. I'd love to introduce Marie Elmore, her brothers Fritz and Frantz Jacques, and Riota Magidson from Haiti, who is joining us and is a student in the nonprofit foundation that Marie and her brothers have started. So all of you, welcome. And Riota, bienvenue. You are in Haiti. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. So happy to have you all with me. And this is going to be a little bit different because we've got multiple speakers, but could one of you share with me how you started Patrick Kids Foundation? What was the genesis of this? Why did you start a nonprofit in Haiti?
Yeah, maybe I'll take that, Lisa.
Great.
Well, since the passing of our brother Patrick, like Marie mentioned earlier, in 2011, and we wanted to have a scholarship in his name. And we had the opportunity to visit Haiti in 2016. And during our visit, we had an opportunity to visit our parents' countryside, their place of birth. And while we were there, we witnessed a lot of parents who were not able to afford to send their kids to school. And some of them, we witnessed that they were just hanging around, not doing anything. And when we inquired, we found out they simply could not go to school because they could not afford it. And once we got back to the States, my brother and my sister, we sat down and discussed how can we help, especially when we knew that we wanted to do something on behalf of our brother Patrick. So that's when we started. We started Patrick's Kids Foundation, and considering that Patrick did not have any kids, so we felt that it was just right for him. All these kids will represent Patrick's kids, and that's how we landed on the name. And in addition to providing scholarships to the kids, we also provide mentorship, and we pay for the school's transportation, and then also opportunities during the summer.
I love it because I think so many people here don't realize that in other countries, if you don't have means, you can't attend school, right? There's school fees, there's uniforms, there's books, sometimes a cost to attend school. We here have public school unless you choose to go to private school. And everybody here goes to school. We go to school virtually now because of COVID, right? So we have the means to facilitate making sure that all of our children get educated. But in other countries, that's sometimes not the case. And certainly, education really is the key to the future. And I'm going to read a quote that you guys use all the time about education from Nelson Mandela that I think is just so powerful and really speaks to what you're doing. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education is the key to eliminating gender inequality, to reducing poverty, to creating a sustainable planet, to preventing needless deaths and illness, and to fostering peace. And if he had only realized when he stated that, how relevant all of that would be word by word in 2020. Almost like he had a crystal ball, right? It's so relevant for where we are today. But I love the fact that the three of you came together, right? You were all born in Haiti. You immigrated to the United States. You have found your path here. You all have great professional careers, and yet you felt compelled to do something rather than doing it here. You felt compelled to do something in Haiti and create a family in honor of your brother who didn't have kids and give back and pay it forward to other kids who may not have had those opportunities and certainly who would not have had, presumably, the opportunities that you all have had. So to me, Marie, when you told me that story, it was so inspiring to me that I said, let's do this, let's get the family on and let's talk about it. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what Patrick's Kids Foundation actually does. Talk to me about the programmatic aspect. And then certainly we want to give Riota a chance to talk and share his experience since he has managed to join us from Haiti and he's actually gone through the program. But let's talk about the practicalities. What does the program do? What does it look like?
let me try to take a stab at that one, Lisa. First and foremost, again, thank you for having us on. And you make a very good point in regards to the barriers of education in developing countries. Things we take for granted, as you said, at least in the pre-collegiate level, education is free in developing countries, but not in Haiti. I think the average, last time I checked, the average income for a Haitian is about $800, what have you. And whereas a simple fee of $60 US dollars might keep a kid out of school. And to us, that was heart-wrenching. And the reason that was heart-wrenching is, again, like President Sylvie said, is that I think Martin Luther King said a quote about how we're all intertwined as one human family. And to a certain extent, what happens to one affects us all. And also, to me, especially looking at some big problems that we're facing today, is that there's so much tremendous talent in these underserved communities, Haiti being amongst them. I think society benefits overall when we give everybody access to this, and society could actually capitalize on the solutions these kids might have. So at Patrick's Foundation, we take a different approach in what we're doing. We use some high thought level, particularly, we're really trying to leverage technology to close the education gap between Haiti and developed nations. So that's why we're really excited to have Leo there on, right? So that's one of the big things. We try to connect our students to the international community. And that's our big thought, is how do we change the mindsets of our kids? They're in Haiti and they have this perceived perception of what they're able to accomplish. And that's where we interject and say, no, you could do so much more. You have so much to bring to the world. So we do things, for instance, we have like a leadership program, an entrepreneurship program. We're big on technology, like where we're actually using Khan Academy and Kudos to really bring these kids to the highest thought level and let them have at it, right? We did this entrepreneurship program, which I think Leo will be great to speak of, and he loves to brag. We had a pitch competition. His team actually won the pitch competition. So, but I'll let Leo actually delve into that one.
And you talked about mentorship too, and I think that's really important because it's one thing to facilitate the ability to go to school and secure an education, but if you're in a situation where you don't have somebody to look up to, somebody ahead of you hasn't had that opportunity, you don't have that person to guide you, to help you, to motivate you, right? Because so often, as I've seen in my travels, when you have a first generation person that's getting an education, and literally just a year ago today, as a matter of fact, I touched down in Cambodia.
Wow.
And was struck there. Cambodia, like Haiti, has been through so much and is so rich with history, although a different history and different issues than Haiti. But most of the young people that I met there were the first in their family to have any education. And their parents primarily are farmers, a lot of them rice farmers. And so the parents don't understand necessarily the value of the education. They can't support the kids with their education because they themselves are not educated. And quite simply, they just want the kids to come engage in the family business and help perpetuate the rice farm. And so it was really interesting to me as we traveled, as we spoke with people, that this generation, and these kids were the same age as Riordan, right? They want an education. They were so curious about the US, that we were pulling out our phones, we were showing them what things here look like. This is our house, this is what a community looks like. Not everybody's riding on scooters in the US, right? It's more cars, this is what it looks like. But I think that technological connection and exposing them to things, but that mentorship and having somebody to guide them to say, no, you can't do this, and this is why it's important, and stick with it, and this is what you can accomplish, is so critical to keeping them on the path. So any thoughts on that?
I'm gonna let Fritz take that one because Fritz is our sort of like are really interacting the life of the kid. That's where he gets his joy from. But just to brief what you said, Lisa, I think you hit the nail on the head. About the mentorship, and what Fritz does an amazing job of doing is changing the mindset of these kids and of their parents. And just listening to you tell the story about the in Cambodia, it's just amazing the parallels to Haiti as well, because we have the same issue, because we have all these programs for our kids, and convincing the parents to, okay, look, I understand the kids have a chore to do, but nonetheless, it is important that they attend these meetings that we have for them. And again, Fritz could tell you stories for days about how, again, the obstacles we have trying to work with the parents to show them points of education and how this could actually provide a better future for the kids.
Fritz, take it away.
Sure. No, absolutely. Just like you said, it is key for us to provide that mentorship for them to assist them in their endeavor. Because a lot of the parents, even as much as they want to help, they're just not they don't have the capability of doing so. They don't know any better. Just to give you an example, for instance, one of the program that we have is cleaning up their community to teach them how to give back to society. So they adopted a street, and once a month they gather together to clean the street. But it's amazing to see the involvement of the parents. They come along to help the students to clean up and so forth. So to me, that gives me an indication that they as much would like to help with their schooling and so forth, but they're just not in the position to be able to. So that's where we step in and put people in place to help them to tutor the students where they just simply can't. If they don't have it, they can't give it back to the kids. So absolutely, and that's a similar problem that we're facing in Haiti. It's amazing to see the parents. They want to help, but it just is not.
The desire is certainly there. And I think we're almost like a bridge that says, we're not only going to help you financially, but maybe by witnessing what we're planting into your kids, that will motivate you and help push you along. Okay, well, I may have wanted to do this for my child. I couldn't. Now I have somebody co-laboring with me. Now I can go along with them as well.
I love it. I love the fact that it's also engaging the parents and hoping to foster that spirit in the community. I'd like to turn now to kind of a quick explanation or quick insight on, as a family, right, where the Mojo Moment was, and then with the remaining time that we have left, I'd like to pose a couple questions to Riordan to hear from him. So Marie, can you maybe shed some light on the Mojo Moment for your family?
Sure. For us, as Fritz alluded to earlier, is how can we honor these two significant figures in our lives, our brother Patrick and our father who passed away, and do it in a way where we're giving back. And certainly in the US, there's certainly plenty of need as well. So it's one of those things, how do you determine where to put forth your resources? For us, because we had such a linkage to, that's where all of us grew up. And honestly, it could have been us that we're watching on those dirt roads without an education. God allowed our parents to come to the US, some of us separately, meaning I know for Fritz, he came with our dad and myself and Frantz and Patrick and my mom. We were in Haiti for quite a number of years. So we had to be separated, but that's kind of like the story of many Haitians, that you just had to separate for the greater good. So for us, being able to come together and do this in honor of them, at the same time recognizing it really could have been us in that same situation, it's an honor and privilege.
I love it. It's a great story. We've got about 8 minutes left. So I want to take a chance to give Riordan a little bit of a chance to talk. And so if somebody wants to help translate, if we need to do that to facilitate it, that's great too. But Riordan, I would love to hear from you about what it's been like to go through the Patrick Kids Foundation program, what that's meant to you, and how you think your life has changed because of it.
Riordan, vous comprenez la question, dis-moi là?
Non. Voilà.
Salimando et tant qui ça et fondation PKF et comment tu commencé là-dedans, les fins qui ça te fait dans la vie, vous comprenez, et quand tu penses que tu es sans Patrick Fondation, les fins qui ça t'avait fait dans la vie. Si vous voulez essayer de répondre en anglais, ça capable, ou bien vous pouvez faire en créole, ma translate pour n'importe en français, n'importe quoi vous voulez faire là.
Go ahead, Riordan, go for it. You can try English, and then if Frantz needs to, he'll translate for you. You can do it.
Come on.
PKF is the bigger organization in my community. For me, he'll help the person in my community for continue in education efficace.
Yeah.
Got it.
You
Thank
can do it
you.
in French if you want. You can do it in French, and then Frantz can translate if you want.
I would love to hear the French anyway. It makes me happy. So my next question, we've got about 4 minutes left. My next question for you is, how do you think your life would be different without an education, without PFK?
Et au lieu de ma dit question en créole pour vous, les nous répondre en français, m'a translé pour vous. Et plus ou moins de dire qui valeur éducation pour vous, qui importance de l'éducation pour vous, et qui j'en pensais la vie est différent sans PKF.
Vous comprenez?
I think there might be a delay in the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think we may be having an audio issue, and I'm concerned that we're going to run out of time.
Okay.
So maybe we can do a follow-up with it, but I am just so impressed and so humbled by what you all have come together to do. And I know that you graciously offered me an invitation a few minutes ago to join you on your next trip to Haiti. And I will warn you, you should be very careful of the invitations you extend. Haiti has been on my bucket list, and you never know. You may get a phone call from me saying, tickets in hand, let's go, I'm ready.
We would let you know, because we go usually at end of August, early September. Usually, like we said, every year we go to kick off the new school year and do a banquet to welcome the new kids, include the parents. But due to COVID, we did not go. But fingers crossed, 2021.
2021.
We're going.
So before we wrap it up, just real quick, give me one insight into, like, if I join you in Haiti, what is the one thing that you are going to make sure that I eat that's local food that I need to try?
That is simple. It's griot, and what griot is, well, unless you're a vegetarian, it's really fried. It's fried pork. And funny story, I don't eat pork, and then they put up, like, we had a long commute to get to the countryside, and one of our hosts prepared the food for us, for the whole family, for the whole group that we're traveling with. And I started eating it. I was like, wow, this is delicious. And everyone was laughing, right? I think it was goat, but it was pork. But that's what finally.
Well, one day when we talk next, I will share with you a similar story about eating something in China that I wasn't quite sure what it was after it was already in my mouth. So, yeah. And with that, I want to extend my deepest thanks. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for facilitating Rio and joining us all the way from Haiti. Thank you for what you're doing, and I will look forward to having another conversation with you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for this opportunity. Unfortunately, the
Thank
connection with Haiti might not been the best.
Thank you.
Merci.